So I'm here with Fred Karger. How are you doing today, Fred?
I'm doing good. We just finished our press conference. Got a beautiful Salt Lake day. Excited to be here for the weekend.
And Fred, you're the first presidential candidate that's openly gay of any major party. Is that pretty tough? How are you handling that?
It's been a real roller coaster, I guess I could say, the last 2.5 years since I've been doing this. I've gotten tremendous support, encouragement, excitement, and then I've taken some bruises along the way.
And what issues are you really campaigning on right now?
Well, my number one issue is to bring back the American spirit. I want to help turn this country around like my old boss Ronald Reagan did 30 years ago. And I define the American spirit as that optimism that he had to excite people to go out and spend money and hire people, and then the ability to get along. And he was the master at that. He worked with the Democrat Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill. They became friends. They got a lot done. That's what I want to do as president.
And how are you using social media to push out your message right now?
Well, when I announced my intention to run, you have to do it in 3 legal ways. Back in New Orleans in April of 2010, I wanted to out Obama on the social media area. And I think I have, not with the numbers, but of course Twitter was in its infancy 4 years ago. I've got Facebook, we read it, we've done so many things, and I love what you're doing here at PoliticIt. I think that obviously is a great way particularly for candidates like myself who don't have massive amounts of money to really get his message out.
And right now with Mitt Romney, he's really kind of clinched down the nomination at this point. And you're still in the race. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to pull some of his supporters towards your issues that you're campaigning on at this point? Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, I'm doing it for many reasons. I've conceded to Mitt Romney. I've congratulated him with every primary he's won. He's run an incredible campaign and has been doing it for a long time. But I was invited to be on this Utah state ballot by Thomas Wright, who's the Republican Party chair here. And there are only 5 of us on the ballot, and there are only 2 of us that are still actively in the race. So I'm sticking with this. I want to be an alternative to Mitt Romney. There are a lot of people, even in Utah, that aren't too excited about the Romney candidacy, so they can vote for Fred Karger for president and send a message. But I want to open up the Republican Party. And so by going to BYU last night, and literally hundreds of colleges and high schools that I've spoken to about that inclusive message of the Republican Party, the kind of Republican Party I grew up with, I think is an important message, and I'm going to stick with this till June 26th in the final primary in the nation, which is here in Utah.
And we noticed, Mr. Karger, that you wanted to introduce a 28th Amendment to the Constitution in which 16 and 17-year-olds would have the right to vote. Why do you think they have the right to vote?
Well, when I first voted, and of course I'm a political junkie, I couldn't wait to vote, but I had to wait till I was 21, and they passed the 27th Amendment to change our Constitution to allow 18-year-olds to vote. Well, I think now with social media, with the 24-hour news cycle, I met with so many younger people who say that if they learned politics, campaigning, met candidates, got interested in high school, as opposed to when they're out of high school, they'd be better informed and better voters for life. And of course, we know we have a problem getting younger voters to vote. But I think it's too late. We lose them by the time they're either in college or out working, whatever they're doing after high school. So I think we go into these high schools, candidates like me running for president would go in there, governor, Congress, mayor, campaigning in high schools. I think it'll help our high school dropout rate. Maybe 2 or 3% of the students say, well, the governor's campaigning here, maybe I'll stick around high school, not drop out, or be interested in the real-time politics. So it's got a lot of benefits. I know it's a very difficult thing to pass, the United States Constitutional Amendment. I love the fact that we can get that discussion going. A lot of youth groups support me in that, and I'm going to continue to talk about it.
As far as the marriage issues go and equal rights with marriage, how do you stand as far as individuals wanting to marry more than one person?
Well, I think that is certainly outdated. It's polygamy and multiple marriages are just not made for this country. I don't care about other countries, but certainly in the United States we have a law where there's no polygamy allowed since 1890. I think that's important. I like the fact the Mormon Church did change its rule on that. I'm hopeful that they will use that same rationale to stop all their anti-gay activities in the campaign front and the way they treat their members who happen to be LGBT. So I'm just not an advocate of multiple marriage, but I think that we certainly should have marriage equality, freedom to marry, same-sex marriage.
And with the LDS Church, they were really pushing Proposition 8 in California, and you've been an advocate against Proposition 8. What kind of impact has that had on the LGBT community?
Well, I made the statement, and I was very involved. I did my own separate effort on the Prop 8 campaign. The day after the election, I was interviewed. Several reporters asked me what I thought. I said, I'm glad we lost. I am a political professional. I've run campaigns for 30 years. I would never, ever imagine saying that, but I did specifically because as I would follow up with that answer, they've awakened a sleeping giant. I had no idea how much they've awakened this giant, that 10 days later there'd be 300 spontaneous demonstrations at city halls all over the world, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and Greensboro, South Carolina, and all the big cities. Hundreds of thousands of people out. I was in the march in LA. We had 20,000 people. San Diego had 30,000 people. I tried demonstrations during Prop 8. I'd be lucky to get a dozen people out for demonstrations. So we've seen nonstop action since, things getting better. Temple Square surrounded. Jacob Whipple organized that and other leaders here. And so the message is getting out. We're not taking it anymore. We're fighting for our equal rights. We're not living in the closet as I had to for 3 decades. We want to live our lives honestly, and we want younger people to have it much easier.
And we're in Salt Lake City right now, and this has, as far as population goes, more gay people per capita than any other city in the nation, yet it's also the centerpiece of the LDS Church. Do you find more or less support in this city with your views?
I've been coming here for probably the last 15 years. I love Salt Lake. I ski. I've gone to Sundance. I love the city. I love going out. I've got a lot of friends here. It's interesting because the church has this gay problem for so many families. If you're gay, you had to get married, have kids, have a temple recommend card. So what happened, I'm convinced, and a lot of medical experts are, that there's a gay gene. I've got a lot of gay members of the Karger family, and I think that there are a lot of gay Mormons out there. And that gene, by getting married and having kids, keeps getting passed down. So the gay population keeps growing. I know a lot of Mormons who've grown up in other states, a lot of couples, ex-Mormons, Mormons, that moved to Salt Lake because there's a wonderful family feeling and safe environment here. So I think it's exciting. I love going out. I'm going to go to the Human Rights Campaign dinner tomorrow night, where I've been before, to pay tribute to my good friend Bruce Bastian. It's just exciting to see. And then coming off this Sunday event where the 300 active Mormons in their Sunday church clothes marched at the front of the parade, the Gay Pride Parade, to send that message that we need equality in the church and in the country is just phenomenal.
Well, thank you, Mr. Karger.
Josh, thanks very much. This is great.